Okay, I'm going to keep us, that's fantastic. I'm going to keep us moving along. I'm actually going to come to the confirmation of FAMU President-elect Marva Johnson. Next up, you guys are having fun. Next up, I will hand the floor over to Chair Harper. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Lamb, and good afternoon. Presentation of the President-elect was delegated to Board Vice Chair and Chair of the Presidential Search Committee, Trustee Devron Gibbons. I want to thank Trustee Gibbons, who, to my surprise, rearranged his schedule to be here today. So on behalf of Florida A&M University Board of Trustees, Trustee Gibbons will present President-elect Marva Johnson, JD, to the Board of Governors.
Okay. All right. I'll shift to Trustee Gibbons.
Good afternoon, Chair Lamb, Governors. It is with great pleasure that I, on behalf of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University Board of Trustees, it is my honor to formally present President-elect Marva Johnson, JD, to the Board of Governors for confirmation as the 13th President of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Following this rigorous selection process conducted by the Florida A&M Board of Trustees, the decision to nominate Ms. Johnson aligns with the institution's vision, mission to boldly strike and elevate our academic and research enterprise. I am pleased to convey our collective confidence in Ms. Johnson's capabilities to lead our institution into the next phase of academic success. And I'd like to stop right here and thank Governor Levine for serving on our committee, our Presidential Search Committee, as he helped us guide us through this process in a very, very, very good way. I believe the dedicated 15-member search committee reflected our commitment to identifying candidates who possess the requisite qualities to advance Florida A&M University's objectives. Through a comprehensive review of more than 60 applicants and interviews with the numerous excellent candidates, Ms. Johnson emerged as one of the 4 outstanding finalists recommended by the search committee.
Hold on a second. Now, we're not going to have that. So I appreciate everyone's sentiment and emotion, but this is the Board of Governors. We're going to have decorum, and I please ask that we yield the floor to Trustee Gibbons to finish his conversation. Trustee Gibbons, the floor is yours.
Ms. Johnson possesses extensive experience overseeing state government affairs, regulatory, state legislative matters, and strategic partnerships and strategies for government and community initiatives across 9 southern states. Appointed to the Florida State Board of Education in 2014, she was elected chair in 2015 and served in the capacity for 4 years. During her tenure, she championed policies aimed at improving educational outcomes for all students. She played a vital role in implementing performance-based funding measures to encourage the state colleges to improve the student success metrics, including graduation rates. Johnson also worked to enhance accountability across the state's colleges, always with a focus on closing achievement gaps and ensuring that all students had access to high-quality, low-cost education options. I request that the Board of Governors consider and confirm Ms. Marva Johnson, JD, as the 13th President of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University at its June 18th meeting today, in accordance with the Board of Governors Regulation 1.0015C and pursuant to the requirements outlined in the Board of Governors Regulations 1.002. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Governors.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. Thank you for your opening comments. As customary, I will now move to President-elect Johnson. The floor, Marva Johnson, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Chair Lamb, Chancellor Rodriguez, distinguished governors, presidents, board members, and Board of Trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to bring my remarks this afternoon. It is a profound honor to be considered for confirmation as the 13th president of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. I want to express my deep gratitude for the FAMU Presidential Search Committee and to the FAMU Board of Trustees for your confidence in me. I would also like to acknowledge Chair Harper, her unwavering dedication and to protecting FAMU's mission and its legacy has been a constant source of focus and commitment throughout this process. So thank you. I look forward to working with Chair Harper and the Keepers of the Flame to make sure that FAMU is always treated with equity and fairness, and that we advance opportunities for our students and for our communities. I would also like to recognize the Vice Chair of our Board of Trustees, Devron Gibbons, for leading the Presidential Search Committee with a bold vision. FAMU's Board of Trustees has made its expectations very clear. I'm committed to leading this university to forging new paths for excellence and preeminence and to protect and advance FAMU's legacy. And while I am deeply honored by this profound opportunity, I know that honor alone is not enough. This moment is not about me, it is about FAMU. It is about the generations of rattlers who built this university brick by brick, protest by protest, victory by hard fought victory. As a member of the chair, as a member and chair of Florida's State Board of Education, I helped shape policy for our K through 12 system and the state's #1 ranked Grade 28 state college system. We implemented programs that resulted in improved student outcomes, enhanced affordability, and strengthened workforce readiness. Now, I'll use this experience with the Board of Governors, FAMU's Board of Trustees, and the FAMU leadership team to work from a place where I can have a deeper impact, working with students on the campus and within an extraordinary Rattler community. I want to acknowledge the significance of this moment and the responsibility that I will carry to preserve the legacy while carving a path forward for this institution. I didn't graduate from FAMU, but I am a proud beneficiary of the excellence with caring that defines this institution. I was raised in Tampa by an exceptionally hardworking mother who worked 2 jobs and didn't have the opportunity to attend college. However, I was fortunate to be mentored by a proud FAMU alumna who instilled in me the values of grace, grit, and intellectual curiosity. She lit a fire in me and helped me to see how education could open doors for opportunity. By introducing me to the power of FAMU at a very young age, she helped me on my mobility journey on my journey to social mobility, and she helped me develop a passion for the power of education, which is what has led me to why I am here today. One of the most profound moments in my adult life was walking into an office building where I was the highest ranking leader and realizing that it was the same office building that decades before I had helped my mother clean during her part-time job. I know that there are many others in this room, in the state, and in our country who have similar stories to share about how FAMU's promise of social mobility has transformed their lives and led them to exceptional outcomes. FAMU sits at the intersection of access and aspiration. We open doors, we equip students to walk through them with confidence. To lead Florida A&M University is to inherit a legacy born of courage, built by visionaries, and sustained by generations who refused to accept less. When FAMU opened its doors on October 3rd in 1887, it began not with grandeur, but with grit. just 2 professors and 15 determined students who gathered on the highest of the 7 hills in Tallahassee with one radical belief. And that was that Black students in a post Reconstruction Southern state deserved not only access to education, but the opportunity to define their own destiny. From its humble origins, a national institution was born. To lead FAMU is to step into glory shaped by giants, leaders whose legacies defined years of and whose legacy has defined this institution for years and has elevated this institution to the public reputation it holds today. Leaders like Dr. Frederick S. Humphreys, whose fierce advocacy and bold vision expanded FAMU's national profile. President James Ammons, who's led the university to significant periods of growth and helped us to expand our student population well beyond the 8,000 student mark. President Larry Robinson, whose leadership steered the university into the top 100 public universities in the United States, and Interim President Timothy Beard, whose calm presence brought us great credibility during a really tough transition. Today, Florida A&M stands as the #1 public HBCU, the 81st best public university, and the 20th university for social mobility. To remain competitive in a rapidly changing higher education landscape, we must adapt strategically, align smartly, and lead boldly without ever compromising the mission on which we were founded in 1887. The FAMU we see today is not the FAMU of 30 years ago, and the pace of change is accelerating. Families are debating the value of a college degree. Universities are facing funding gaps. The job market is demanding and rapidly evolving. Higher education is increasingly competitive, and institutions are facing additional pressures related to the mental health and safety of our students. FAMU needs a leader who can actually navigate these challenges. And I'm ready to lead with boldness, discipline, and a deep commitment to a measurable impact, advancing FAMU's legacy, and with a strategy that meets the demands of the future. FAMU plays an essential role in helping Florida's SUS remain #1 in the nation for higher education. As part of a coordinated system of institutions, I'm committed to accelerating FAMU's board's boldly striking 2022 to 2027 strategic plan and bringing that link through from 2027 to the SUS 30. In our ongoing pursuit of excellence in caring, we are committed to rigorously evaluating and surpassing our performance metrics. Thanks to FAMU leaders, including Provost Allison Watson, Dean Cecil Howard, and Dean Shannon Wright-Smith, FAMU has already implemented targeted interventions to improve first-time passage rates in critical licensure areas such as nursing, law, physical therapy, and pharmacy. You heard earlier some of our significant progress in these programs. In addition to this, FAMU scored 83 in the performance-based funding metrics, which you have heard is the highest score we've received since the model was implemented. These are strong signs of momentum. And like many FAMU students, I could not take college graduation for granted. Despite being the 3rd child born in my family, I was the first to graduate and finish college. My mother worried that affording college would not be something we could manage. And she encouraged me to finish early. And I didn't finish early. I finished in 4 years, but I turned a 4-year internship into a full-time job. I share my story not because I think it's unique. I actually think it's the story of many of our Rattlers. For the 63% of our students who receive Pell Grants, a degree must be a ticket to an opportunity. Today's graduates need more than a diploma. They need digital fluency, adaptability, and a strong professional network the day they cross the stage. We must prioritize our efforts to provide our students with access to opportunities. We must aggressively align our academic programs with the workforce demands. For example, I'm deeply committed to protecting and advancing FAMU's health sciences curricula and our College of Agriculture and Sciences Institute of Public Health. We must expand our relationships with the business community, strengthen our partnerships with entrepreneurs, and host our community and state leaders on our campus so that they can understand why it's important to invest in our HBCUs and they can be committed to our success going forward. We continue our quest for excellence. We must reduce our reliance on government funding and we must diversify our funding sources. Under my leadership, I don't expect FAMU to just survive. I expect it to thrive. We all know that student success is not possible without our faculty and staff. They are the lifeline of our university. My job as president is to remove barriers, to build resources, and to build coalitions that will help support our faculty's success. I'm looking forward to partnering with faculty like Trustee Brown and other staff leaders to advance the strategic priorities set forth in the Rattler Employee 10. And many of you may know that FAMU is a Carnegie R2 high research institution. What you may not know is that we recently were recognized as one of the few institutions nationwide who's earned both the Carnegie Research 2 designation and the Opportunity College University recognition. We already lead in critical disciplines, including agriculture, pharmaceutical sciences, and nursing. So we must ask, why not FAMU as a top research institution? And why not now? To do so, we have to meet the needs of those industries. Achieving R1 status represents the next chapter in FAMU's evolution as a national leader in education, innovation, and impact. And today, I pledge that as part of my administration, I will deliver on our strategic goal to reach R1 status. We'll expand partnerships, commercialize research, and re-engage and retain PhD talent to build a pipeline for our future. And as I step into this role, I recognize the legacy that I carry. I remain deeply committed to ensuring that the legacy of the university is not lost. To the Rattler community, students, faculty, alumni, stakeholders, I am listening and I hear your hopes and I hear your dreams and I hear your concerns. And my door will always be open. And I'm looking forward to full engagement on campus and in our communities. Together, we can chart a unified path to elevate student success and faculty excellence, expand our research capacity towards R1 status, innovate our curriculum to meet the demands of this changing workforce, diversify and strengthen our revenue streams, and amplify FAMU's brand on a global stage. My mission is clear. It's to protect this sacred institution, to uplift its legacy, and to fight for a future that is as bold as its founding. This is a new era, not for retreat, but for bold leadership and advancement. This moment is not about dismantling, it is about building, it is about advancing excellence, and together we can take FAMU to a top 50 public university in America, and I would ask that you entrust me with this phenomenal opportunity.
Chair-elect, President-elect, thank you. It was fantastic. I'm going to customarily go to a BOG member that was on the search committee. I will go to Governor Levine, and then I'll quickly open it up to the BOG for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to just make 3 observations, one as to history, one as to the process, and one as to the candidate herself. First of all, just back in 2015, FAMU sat in front of this board, the then president, and put forth a plan that got her students to a 6-year graduation rate of 39%. That was the goal, to get to a 39% 6-year graduation rate. The students were leaving FAMU without a degree. 60% of the students were leaving FAMU without a degree and with the most debt of any of our universities. What was happening at FAMU was a tragic failure for those students. This board said no. We said no, we're not going down that path. We made changes on the board. That board terminated the president, and we brought in Larry Robinson. And we set standards for FAMU. Not because we don't care about FAMU, but quite the opposite. Because the people in this room really do care about FAMU. And today, it's a top 100 public university. You just heard all the other accolades. No, one person, I'm sorry, Dr. Beard, but one person didn't do that. This Board of Governors, the Board of Trustees, the leadership, the faculty locked arms with the students. And today, FAMU is where it is. And we make no apologies for holding our universities to high standards. And we want to hear from the presidents that they want to do the same thing. So the history here is real. The history is riddled with facts. And we don't need to rewrite that history because we all know what it is. Number two, the process. I attended every one of these meetings. I observed them. There was a very, very interactive search committee. There was a lot of debate, a lot of discussion, a series of votes, and 4 highly qualified people emerged from that search committee process. Unfortunately, there were leaks. People violated our regulation and the law and were leaking names, including Marva Johnson's, to the press before the decision was even made. So one candidate out of the 4 all of a sudden had to endure what we observed here today, and it's been nonstop. And we saw in Marva a resilience and a spine to sit there and listen to every one of these speakers and engage with every single one of them. She never took her eyes off those speakers. And she just said, I heard you, I hear you. That's who this woman is. And she deserves this opportunity because she earned it. The Board of Trustees voted 8-4 for Ms. Johnson. That vote included the faculty rep and the student body president, or the student rep on the Board of Trustees. So you sit here today after going through a very rigorous process and a very public, unfortunately, and I'm sorry for that, a very public and unfair series of allegations about you that were unfair and unnecessary. But you had the resilience to go through that process anyway, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to voting for you. Mr. Chair, I present a highly qualified and excellent candidate.
Thank you, Governor Levine. I'm going to open up quickly to the Board of Governors. Questions, comments?
Thank you,
Governor
Chair.
Shalom.
Thank you, Chair Lamb. I appreciate that. Look, I have over many years gotten to know President-elect Johnson in a variety of capacities. We've served on several boards together, and I have seen firsthand the level of commitment, passion, the grit, the willingness, frankly, to put in not just the time and the effort, but the personal, political capital to do things that help the state move forward. On boards like Enterprise Florida, I saw how she made a difference for the state and put the state first over sometimes even maybe her own feelings about things. So I applaud what you've done historically, and I appreciate the passion that I heard also in your remarks. I personally believe there's no greater responsibility for a board of trustees or any board, whether it's public sector, private, education, than succession planning. And so with that, I will ask actually Chair Harper, are you still comfortable with both the process, and are you comfortable and the Board of Trustees with President-elect Johnson being selected for this role?
Thank you for that question, Governor Szilagyi. The board voted 8-4, and so the majority carried. And so representing the board, The majority carried, and that's why President-elect Johnson is here today. As it
Okay.
relates to the process, that was your other question. I do have concerns about the process. And I outlined that in the email that I sent to the Board of Governors yesterday. And that summarizes my concerns about the process.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Okay, I'm going to see if there are other comments or questions. Governor Serio.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say I also have served with Marva Johnson. We served on the Constitution Revision Commission together. She's a person of very keen intellect. She's tough as nails, and she's a person of great integrity. And I'm pleased to see you here today. And I want to ask you my very repetitive question that I ask every president, but I think it's really, really important. And that is, and because every president has signed on to this document or affirmed their beliefs and the principles set forth in the document, have you reviewed the State University System Statement of Free Expression? And do you feel like how do you feel about that document? Can you subscribe to the tenets expressed in it?
Thank you, Governor Serio. Yes, I have reviewed the state university's statement of freedom of expression, and I am happy to commit myself to the principles outlined therein. It's important. One of the principles I've managed my life under is that the truth unchallenged is stagnant, and we have to create an environment where we can bring differing opinions to the table and share an exchange that allows us each to gain a little more appreciation for the other's understanding, and to do so in an environment that is safe.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Other-
Maybe
Governor
I'll give
Jones.
a final comment here.
Sure,
So
sure.
I've known Marva Johnson personally for more than 15 years now, served with her in various public and private capacities. And she is tenacious and she is tough. And to see what she endured through the process and still sitting here and give remarks like she did today, being committed to the university and willing to take this job, coming from the private sector, having lots of opportunities in the private sector, but sacrificing that to be here, to be in public service. I think that's admirable and I think it's remarkable. And I'd like to move that we go ahead and vote on Marva Johnson's next president of FAMU.
We have one more. I'm sorry.
If I
Go-
could just echo that.
Absolutely, Governor Renner.
And just say, I also know Marva, and the word, this body and everything we do is moving toward excellence in every one of our institutions. And when I think of Marva, that's the word I think of. She expects the very best of herself and those under her leadership and demands excellence. And I would just say to those, and so I'm enthusiastically supporting her today, and to those that are opposing her or have opposed her, I would just remind people about what happened about 10 years ago with the now late President John Thrasher, who had widespread opposition. But once he got in, many of those, most if not all of those people wound up being big advocates for John Thrasher and for the amazing things he did for FSU. And so I would just encourage those who have concerns, who voice concerns, to exercise grace and know that Marva Johnson's success is FAMU's success. We all want to see that success, and I know without a doubt she'll deliver it.
Well said. President Thrasher's a good man.
This is Governor Frost. I want to ditto all of that. I know Marva Johnson. I know of her in many ways. I think she's more than qualified. I think we're very lucky today that we are now looking at two fabulous candidates who could be leading both this university we're talking about now and Jeanette Nunez at FIU. I think we're sitting here where we have two candidates that we're all smiling about. So I would second also Ms. Johnson, and of course, you know how I felt about Jeanette Nunez. Thank you.
Okay, there's been a motion on the floor originally actually by Governor Levine.
Okay, Governor Levine.
And then there was a second by Governor Jones. Very good comment. I'm going to pause if there's any further discussion. I have one question that I'd like to ask. I have been watching closely the last, call it 3 to 6 months. And there's been pattern and a theme around what real or perceived concerns our beloved family has. And so as you think about your 90-day plan and your longer term plan, but particularly your first 30, 60, 90 days in office, my question for you is, can you commit to continue to listen to the voices that are sharing their sentiment, that are right with emotion for all the right reasons? There's a lot of history here that deserves recognition and shouldn't be forgotten. But my ask to you is you to commit to this board that you will continue to listen, you will do the very best that you can to take those ideas and voices and roll them into your broader plan to be the leader of the university. And so you can't close your door. The voices aren't going to go away. And I expect, and I'm asking that you can commit to continue to listen.
Chair Levine, I'm sorry, Chair Lamb, it is my absolute commitment to continue to listen. And in fact, my day -30 will start with listening tours in small groups. As you already demonstrated, Chair, it's important for me to start to make sure that the vision, the hopes, and the dreams of the FAMU community are reflected in our strategies, are reflected in how we commit our resources, and how we plan for the university's success. It is absolutely my honor to make that commitment.
My second question is Vice Chair Gibbons still in the room? Okay, can you come to the mic? I'm going to start with Chair Harper, and then I'm going to come to Vice Chair Gibbons. One of the most important things that a trustee board can do, if not the most important thing, is select a president. There has been widespread and well-known debate around the decorum of your board. You now have a candidate in front of the Board of Governors. Our job at the Board of Governors is to confirm. Your job is to manage the president. My ask first, Madam Chairman, if this board moves forward with this motion, do the Board of Governors have your commitment for you to do your best? You don't control everything, I understand it, for you to do your best to help set your next president up for success, help them with their 30, 60, 90-day plan, the fundamental things that we would expect the board to do to help the president be successful.
Absolutely. So throughout my corporate career, one of the things I've been known for is the excellence with which I implement onboarding and transitions. So this will be no different.
Excellent. Vice Chair Gibbons, one of the things that's most important in a vice chair role is to have a level of trust, respect, civil discourse and debate. Sometimes you won't always agree with your chair. Really? Now, my question to you, you've heard from the chair. I'm now asking the vice chair. Can you do your very best and commit to this Board of Governors that you will lead, have decorum, the right debate, lock arms with your chair and the rest of your board to set your next president up for success if we carry this motion?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed like sign. Did I hear someone? Okay. Yep, you don't get a vote. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You. Congratulations, Madam President. We have one more very important item. I'm quite honored actually to present. I'm
Can we
going,
just come back to this one next time, Mr. Chairman?
should we
Could
table
could
this
we?
one? A rough crowd. Quite honored to have the next item on the agenda at University of West Florida. I'm going to hand the floor over to Chair Rebecca Matthews to present confirmation of the interim president, Mr. Manny Diaz.
Thank you, Chair Lamb and Governors. I'm proud to be here today on behalf of the University of West Florida Board of Trustees as you consider the appointment of University of West Florida's interim president, Manny Diaz Jr. Thank you for recognizing Martha Saunders' service earlier on in the programming. She certainly made a lasting impression on the university and the community, and will continue to serve, as she said, as president emeritus and also teacher of the School of Communications. So we'll look forward to having her at the university. With President Saunders' resignation came an immediate need for our board to consider an interim leader for the university. Furthermore, it was paramount to have an interim installed prior to the beginning of the new school year. After thoughtful consideration, it was clear Manny Diaz Jr. would be the best leader for UWF at this time.